Welcome to Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson, the podcast where we head down the road of the supernatural and beyond. So sit back and hold on as we take a ride together to what lies in the unknown and beyond the veil. Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson presents guest host, hypnotherapist Lesley Mitchell-Clarke. Lesley is a Toronto-based certified clinical hypnotherapist who specializes in a number of modalities, including working with individuals who feel that they have had experiences with extraterrestrial beings. Most of this fascinating work, as well as metaphysical therapies such as past life and interlife regression, takes place in Lesley's Toronto hypnosis clinic, Lightwork Hypnosis. Her book, Intersections, is available on Amazon. And now your host, Daniel Jackson, with part 2 of Hypnotherapy, Extraterrestrials, Past Life and Interlife Regression.
But I did not become aware that I was a medium until right before I was 50 years old.
Well, there you go. And I'm sure you know, I may not have had a lot of people becoming mediums and practitioners like yourself, but what I do hear is an incredible increase in PSI abilities, psychic abilities. And it kind of fits in a way, I'm also going to throw it out there. I don't really believe that that experiencers have had, that there is any such thing as somebody with an isolated experience.
Too many people in this world to have not had some of the same things happen.
Yeah. Too many people. And so when I have a chance to get in there, like say somebody contacts me and they have a partial memory of being, 5 and being levitated out of their bed and walking on the cold, wet lawn, when I get in there, invariably we find that individual has been an experiencer usually since the age of 3. That's about the earliest that I have. Or maybe that's only because that's when beings can converse verbally. Now, it may be that there has even been tinkering in the womb beyond that. I am not sure. But what I can tell you is that experiencers in general, if they've had one experience, it has been something that has been going on at least intermittently since their early physical life on this planet.
In that same way, like that movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where they all had the same experience. They're all going through that. They got this memory in their head where they need to go and how they need to get there. And they all experience the same thing all at the same time. There's too many, even though it's an individual different person, but still the ETs that are going to do this, maybe they themselves are just keeping records of you for every time that they bring you back and they want to try something new with you. But you're still having the same type of experience. I mean, in the medical profession here, we keep records on people.
Sure.
Why wouldn't they do the same thing, especially if it's going to be one particular subject or many subjects they're going to bring back multiple times? They would have to know, okay, well, we tried this, let's move on to this. But the person who's having the experience still sees it as the same experience over and over and over again.
Indeed.
Yeah, because they're just being worked on,
Indeed. And again, we're dealing with many different ET civilizations.
Yeah.
And I want your listeners to really take this into their hearts. The vast majority of experiences with extraterrestrial beings, whether they are very humanoid like ourselves, which is a common experience, or have other difference, the vast majority are benign experiences.
Yeah.
So the way it shook out, I don't know if anyone's, Kathy Martin told me the way it shook out in the big MUFON research program and the results. I also participated in the free experiencers version of the same thing, which is the late Dr. Edgar Mitchell's foundation, free experiencers. So what they found out that was that out of all the individuals that gave their reports and had regressions and blah, 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 10% had what I would have to call like euphoric spiritual experiences, where they really traveled to high dimensions and were dealing with some very evolved, divine loving beings of some sort. So that's 10%.
Yeah.
And another 10% had what we would call, traumatic experiences, where various physical things maybe happened to them, or they were terrified, or
Right.
what have you. So, and then there's that, and then there's that huge chunk of 80% in the middle, which were benign. Like, hello, how are you doing?
Right.
Nice
How you
to
doing?
meet you.
Good to meet
Would
you.
you mind dropping me off here? And could you give me 5 years back? I need a little work done on the thing.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know.
Sure, absolutely.
But that's what we're talking about. So if you are an experiencer, and even if you are having memories or parts of memories that seem to be disturbing, it is really of value to explore that further, because most of the time we can bring back the whole experience without trauma, as that's another thing. You don't have to relive the trauma to see the memory, right? That's a myth. We haven't done that since Freud, so that's gone. But if you can see the experience, then you can put it into perspective. And I believe that, as I said earlier, most of us are here by intention to assist in, if you wish to call it, a upgrade of consciousness, which also means changes, just things like moving away from fossil fuels.
Sure, we're here to learn lessons.
I mean, we have a lot of stuff that will be just mechanical, but it will help provide an upgrade of consciousness. That's what's happening.
We're here to learn lessons and fulfill a purpose, and this is a learning planet. People don't realize that, but we're here to learn some lessons, and we're choosing the body that we're going to come into, because we know the lessons that we learned the previous time did not go as well as planned, and we had to come back again and try it all over again. You're basically punching your dance card, and you got to get it right enough times where you don't have to return again. But
or we chose. That's really what we're seeing,
But it's hard for us to understand that.
I know, it's hard.
We're in this meat suit, we don't
we're in the meat
that.
suit.
We're not aware of it. Yeah, we're in this meat suit. So
we are in the bad meat suit. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we're learning this human experience. But do you think a lot of the trauma that people are part of that 10%, do you think it's trauma just because of their perception of what they think trauma is, or
in part? But again, it depends on their age and what was happening at the specific time. Now, we're going to go back in time a little bit here to the early, just the end of World War II and the Roswell crash.
Sure.
That is really the beginning of our modern era of ufology. That's ground zero. Now, as I understand, from many individuals that I've spoken with and interviewed and such, is first of all, there were 3 crashes. There wasn't one, there were 3. There were survivors. All of them died except one. But at that critical, pivotal point in the development of the modern era of the nuclear age, there was a deal made that is called the Truman Agreement. It later segued into what we call the Eisenhower Agreement. But in the Truman Agreement, they were offered or what was then essentially just the United States government was offered some advanced technology that they could handle by the Zeta Reticulite Greys, the same beings, by the way, that abducted Betty and Barney Hill.
Right.
The Zeta Reticulite Greys. They could no longer procreate. Big problem. So they presented a deal to President Truman and said, well, we're going to give you all this stuff fiber optics, integrated circuits, Velcro, all of this stuff.
All this cool stuff, but there's a catch to it.
There is a catch. And in exchange, we want to be allowed to harvest DNA material from a very small amount of human beings. Okay, now here's where we get into a weird area. This what shall I call this? Fertility program, if you will, conducted by the Zeta Reticulites from the end of World War II on, was extremely wide range. And this is where we have really the most horrible stuff that
Sure.
we hear about, the painful taking of ova, men being, sperm being taken, experiencers being shown, hybrid children. It's absolutely mind-bending. So these types of experiences, this whole deal timed out, and believe it or not, the Zeta Reticulites honored their deal. And so we really only find people of a certain age who were at a point of maturity at the end of World War II, where they were subjected to these types of experiences.
Sure. Sure.
So thank God, a lot of that has timed out. So I really have very few clients who have ever come to me with that older memory. And also I will say that some of those memories, some of those experiences, a lot of them were randomized. I don't think they were necessarily following, the Greys were necessarily following lines of psychic ability or anything like that. I think it was far more widespread than we can imagine, but it came to an end.
Yeah, I think just a lot of the psychic ability stuff was happening because those beings themselves, that's how they communicate it. And because we are psychic, everyone has these psychic abilities. We just don't realize it, because being here as a soul who comes here and comes into this body, you have it as a soul, but now you're part of this again. You're part of this meat suit, which kind of filters a lot of that out. But we don't realize how much we actually do have.
We have no idea.
Especially, I mean, in the very young ages, children do have it. They see things and hear things that not everybody does, because again, they're just brand new back into the world again, and it hasn't been washed away from them yet. But some of us do retain this, and we have these things. We're able to. I mean, hey, if they were coming here, a long time ago just to get sperm from men, I mean, geez, they should have came to me when I was a kid. I was giving that shit away for free. But
I think they just they didn't discriminate. I think they were very active in their program.
Yeah.
So those are there are absolutely hybrids, and I think some of them are so humanoid looking that they can even blend in. But on the other hand, some of them have to still live aboard a craft. It was an uneven thing, but I can tell you from what I hear that I believe that we are completely integrated with Pleiadians and Lyrians and Arcturians, the beings that really are our forebears. But there are Juno cousins.
Yeah, people here, they what we do here all the time is crossbreed. We crossbreed with. I marry someone who's Asian. We have children. They look a little bit Asian, a little bit like me. We're doing the same exact thing as they are. They're just doing it on a much higher level because of the instance that they are in, that they can no longer reproduce themselves. So now they got to figure out another way of getting around that,
Well, that's what they did. But I will say that I think the most horrifying things that I have ever heard about, and I hesitate to even discuss them, but the most horrifying things that I have ever heard about were the result of our own things going on within our own secret space program.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Our own Black Ops operation.
We are sometimes horrible people as well. We're horrible.
God.
We're still doing these things. When I think it was a couple months ago, they had some truck that overturned down a highway, and all of a sudden it released all these monkeys, and they were like, why is this monkey? Because they're test monkeys. We're still testing on animals.
Can you believe
so we can find some shampoo that works on my bald head.
We are capable of incredible cruelty.
Yeah,
I'm not saying everyone, but there's a certain strata of sociopathic humanoid life that is capable of almost anything, and we have a tremendous problem with greed.
Yes.
Absolutely. Greed and power are intoxicating for us in the same way that they were intoxicating for the Anunnaki.
That's why I get that they run these black ops, these programs.
Mercy.
Everybody's got a program.
The things I've heard, my God, and they start involving these cadets when they're young children, and kind of an interesting thing is many of the individuals that I have worked with over the years who have been involved in the secret space program are often from military
20 and back.
families. 20 and back, and they often have had those military families stationed along the DEW line, which I just read is being reactivated given the Russian bad behavior. But the United States and Canada have a number of high-powered, I am going to assume, nuclear bases that are actually in Canada, but are designed to be able to deal with the Russian threat. It's a Cold War. It was a Cold War thing.
Yeah, I live in a place. I live in southern Arizona.
Oh.
And yes, I'm. And what's right next to me here in southern Arizona? I live in a place called Sierra Vista. And what's right next to in Sierra Vista?
Oh, the big nuclear White Sands, right?
No, the Army base, Fort Huachuca, the largest intelligence base in the United States. Yeah. And
I'm not surprised. You probably have, there's probably a lot of activity going on out there.
We see a lot of activity.
I would imagine, and Arizona itself. Now, I've got to ask you about Arizona. Now, as a singer, I work there all the time. I used to work in Flagstaff and here and there and all these hotels and such. And at that time in my life, I was completely unaware of spirituality and what's going on. Now, is it your feeling that there are either natural portals or unnatural portals, or is this amazing area in Arizona, is it a distortion of space-time? Or have you had any thoughts about that? Because something's going on that's like ridiculous.
Yes, we see things. We live right next to a mountain. I mean, you go outside my door, there's a mountain that's 2.5 miles high. And my wife and I look up there all the time, and we have seen things coming across from behind the mountain, lights in the sky. Well, we were out watching some fireworks, and there was a gentleman there who was interested in it as well. And he wasn't even watching the fireworks. He was taking video towards our mountain. And my wife was pointing things out for him. Look at this thing here moving there. And we know that's not a drone. And we know this and this. Yeah, there are things going on here all the time.
Absolutely.
And we see them all the time. And we are aware of it. But we're aware of the energy is a different type of energy here as well. We're actually out here because of I'm also able to do channeling as well. And I channeled with like 5 different other mediums back east. And the same thing came through every time that they said that we were going to move out here. Are the ones who bring the messages for me are the archangels. And they said that we were going to move out actually New Mexico first. But then about a year ago, we got a message that we were coming out to Arizona. So so I asked them, where in Arizona are we going to move to? And they said, you'll know. And I said, okay. I woke up the next day. I asked my wife, give me a map of Arizona. And then she put it down in front of me. And I said, okay, now I'm going to say where we're going to move. I closed my eyes. I put my finger up and I started pointing places. And I kept getting no, 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 no. Yes. I was like, Sierra Vista, that's where we're going. And they told us to come here. And yeah, it was crazy like that. Yeah, like I was saying, we put that map down and just pointed out a place, and then boom. So we got out. We came out here, and things have been falling into place ever since we've been here. So I know they're happening for the reason they're happening. But yeah, this is we have a blimp that goes up in the air that flies around, and they say it's a weather balloon, but we know it's actually taking pictures, and we're right next to the border. I mean, we've been to Mexico a couple of times. I mean, it's only 12 miles away, so
yeah.
So we're really close, and it's not as bad as they make it out to be. We're just
God,
you don't want to be there because everybody's coming up to you asking you for a dollar all the time, but yeah, we go there and get medications because I'm diabetic, and some of my medications here are like $500. I go down there and they're like $25. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Well, I spent a lot of time in Mexico. I worked as a singer in San Miguel de Allende, Vallarta. You know, I love, yo me gusto Mexico. Yo hablo español perfectamente. So, you know, I love there.
What?
You know, I get, but like any situation where you've had colonial murder and suppression and destruction of the indigenous peoples. And I mean, that's, you know, there you go. Mexico is, well, but they still have a kind of a history of political corruption that is hard to put away. And then, not to mention, we got all those Sinaloa cowboys, you know, out there in
absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
the Texas border.
About 100 years ago, you know, this place used to be a real melting pot of other people coming from other countries to come in this place, and now we're putting up border walls around everything, which is kind of insane and stuff like that. Got one of these questions I like. How is it that that ETs seem to beam in here? What do you think they're doing? I mean, is it like Star Trek? Are they just going, okay, Scotty, and they're beaming them down? Do you think it's in that way? I mean, because I would have to imagine they have the technology to do that, correct?
I think there are several different things going on. I think there is a kind of beaming technology where they're able to either, you know, to speed up or attune their cellular vibration to whatever solid surface they're going through,
like a portal, like we were saying,
or a portal. And there have even been, you know, I've had a lot of individuals tell me that sometimes the beings are carrying a kind of a stick, you know, kind of a wand of sorts, and they're able to actually open a portal at will. And then I have had other individuals tell me, especially when they're children, the childhood memories, this is especially a common thing. They are being floated out through the wall or through the ceiling, and it's a question of actually just moving through the matter. So again, it's because nothing is solid. Everything is an ocean. I mean, glass is a liquid, for Christ's sake. People don't realize that glass is a liquid, a slow moving liquid, but a liquid. So if we could adjust the way our cells vibrate, we could in theory pass through any kind of substance. So I think there's that. Now, I also think that some of what is going on, especially when you get into the experiences that the more mature experiencers are having, when you get into, I think we're talking about many times either bilocation, or if you wish to call it astral projection, or even holographic images. I think that all of these things are used in communication, because really the speed of thought is the fastest. It's instantaneous. It's fast. It's superluminal. It's the fastest thing there is.
We have
the fastest thing there is.
For our mind all the
thousands
time.
and billions of little neurological messages.
That's all.
And we have all this going on. So I think that some of the evolved species, or maybe many evolved species, say to themselves, you know what, space travel, you know, even if we're zipping through portals, you know, it's a big deal. You got to check in, you got to change your air, you know, or whatever their deal is. So images are projected that are holographic images that are so realistic that it's, unless the ET explains what they're doing, the experiencer wouldn't necessarily know. Yeah. And I have one experiencer I work with. Oh, he's a fascinating guy. He's a survivor of the secret space program, and in his different places where he was stationed, he became friends with a kind of an evolved being who was an insectoid. This is a hard thing to get one's head around, but there are loving, sophisticated, evolved insectoid beings in our neighborhood. So anyway, this being, and his name is Kern. That's what he's called. That's what he says his name is. And he would sometimes appear in person, but more commonly, he would project himself in a very sophisticated holographic form in order to communicate with, you know, the individual that I was working with. And now sometimes in trance, this individual can communicate with Kern in real time. And why not?
Well, Lesley, I have something to tell you along that same lines. So I see my spirit guides all the time. I see them during the day. When I'm sitting here talking to you, I see these little things. If you ever seen someone smoking a cigarette and little petals of smoke comes off the cigarette, that's what I see during the day in a lighted area. But when I'm in a dark room, I see them full on as they are. Now, in the very beginning, I just saw these lighted beings of pulsating blue and white light coming up from the floor and just coming through. But now I see them exactly who they are. And when I say I see them, so most of the ones that I see them standing in a room around me in a circle. Archangels are not like 12 or 13, as they say in that book. That's a bunch of crap. But I always ask them, how many do I have? They say, all of them. They just say all. And I say, okay, and how many is all? And I'm told there's thousands and thousands of them. And the one, when I'm getting touched on my face, I know the names of them. Now, these are just names that we use to recognize them by. These are not their actual names, because we as humans have a voice box. We can't pronounce their actual names. You know, it's more of a sound vibrational type thing. And when I see them, like Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Azaziel, I have one named Manos. Okay. When I see them, this is going to make perfect sense to you. I see these 7 to 8 foot praying mantises standing in my room, and that's what they look like. Other ones that I see, some of them look like birds. I have one that looks like an owl that comes up. The one we call Archangel Michael does not look like a human whatsoever. He looks to me, he shows me his true self. These two eyes are not blue, they're brownish reddish, and he has a wider head. He looks more like a half moose, half horse looking thing. He has this big long body with short fur on it, but he's got these big floppy ears, and yeah, he just looks. That's what but this is what they look like. And I tell people, I understand what they are. I understand what they do for me, what they do for everyone else. They're trying to help us. They're here to help us. But that's what they look like. It's just, to people, they look like, if you have a 7-foot, praying mantis bug looking thing in your room, you're going to think it's a monster. They're not monsters. It's just, this is what they look like, where they come from. These are just, the ones that I see are just beings who no longer need a body anymore. They've evolved to no longer being. This is what angels are, but these are just beings. Are they aliens? I would call them aliens, but why are they aliens? Because they're just alien to us. They don't look like us, but some of them look human, but most of them are not. They're not human. They're humanoid, but they're not always human. But I do see some who look human, but they're not always exactly human like us. I have one, her name is Helen, and she is human. And because she was living here on the face of this earth back in Egyptian times, she was an Egyptian princess, but now she's this, that's all. But most of the other ones, they look like they're aliens. And I've seen some that look like grays. So, but I understand what they are. Not everybody does, and I think because of all the presidents and all the controllers of this world have taken that away from us, and they want to keep it away from us again, because, like we were saying, it's all about control and power and greed, and it's an unfortunate thing. We could move so much further in this world together, helping each other, but we don't because of all that crap, because of everything that's been taken away from us. Back when Roswell happened, they said, oh, there was flying saucers. And then the government said, yeah, there was flying saucers. And then all of a sudden they said, no, there's no flying saucers. No. Right. They want to keep it secret,
Right.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Well, it's a control issue and a huge underestimation of what humanity can accept and will accept. And now even the Pope, bless his heart, has come out and said, please understand that the discovery of other life forms, this is nothing to be feared. This is part of creation. It doesn't mean you're not Christian. It doesn't mean it. It just means there are varieties of creativity and God's creativity, or if you don't want to even use that word, but the creative force of the universe is everywhere. And
Yeah.
it may interest you, Daniel. A lot of if I get a chance with the experiencers I work with, I try to schedule what we call an interlife regression.
Sure.
And that's a little bit different than a past life regression in the sense that we're only interested in a past life. We go to the most recent one and then we get right out of it. And then we go to that zone, if you will, heaven, spirituals, or whatever you wish
Sure.
to call it, where we go when we release
Just
our
another
bodies
place.
and another place. And of course, the great Michael Newton was really the guy who discovered and gave us a roadmap of how to negotiate the interlife. But what it's about is how and why we make our plan to
Right.
come into this physical life. And it is a universe of free will, which is why, I think a great thing would be accomplished if people could just release their parents from blame of any sort and take responsibility for the fact that they chose their parents for some reason.
Right.
Now it
Well,
could be a DNA reason. I mean, your
yeah.
father could be
We're,
like a sperm donor,
but we
but
were being here people. We again, because the people who control everything, they have taught us to blame everyone for everything in this world because they don't want them to people don't want to take responsibility for themselves and actually what's going on here. So they want to blame everything because they have to have a reason for everything. Well, maybe there's just a different reason for it, and you're just not meant to know it at that moment because you're too focused on trying to blame someone to put punishment on them because we've been taught punishment, but we need to learn to let that go and just go.
Oh yeah.
When I'm riding down the road on my motorcycle and I see, okay, I want to take this right-hand turn here, and they touch me on my face and they say no, I go, okay, do you want me to take the next right-hand turn? And I get a yes. Whatever was supposed to happen at the other one, I don't give a crap. I just know that they're looking out for my best interest. So I just follow that. I don't want to sit there and go, why didn't you want me to go there? What's the problem? I don't try to have an argument with them or try to blame them for something that was, maybe something really cool is going. No, they're just looking out for our best interest. We need to learn. We need to just try to do that instead of trying to blame everything on someone.
Well,
Or something,
negative emotions,
Yeah.
blame, guilt, greed, fear, these are going to truncate development.
Yeah.
And it is a universe of free will. We decide what family, or if we're even going to come in, we decide, and we pick our parents for a wide variety of reasons that aren't always obvious when we're in the physical lifetime.
Right.
But, this is, you said it earlier, this is the cruel school. This is the grand experiment. And I do believe that Earth, our watery blue planet, is unique in the sense that we have such a diverse presentation of intelligent life. I mean, we have evolved beings. I mean, we've got the Dalai Lama and Martin Luther King, or whatever you want to put on that end, and we've got on the other end, we've got Ted Bundy and Hitler. And I mean, we have this incredibly huge scope of development. And I think that at least in our corner of the universe, that is a very unusual thing where people can come to this place and learn hard lessons.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's, like you said, with Ted Bundy or Hitler, I mean, if people actually knew what was really going on in this country, as far as like we're talking about the black ops and stuff like that, about the types of things that those people do, compared to what Hitler was doing, it's pretty much the same thing. But this is governmental run, or a lot of it is now being private corporations that are doing a lot of this stuff now.
It's really private. It's all privatized now, baby.
Yeah,
but,
because they don't have to report to anybody.
No, they don't. They don't even have to have regular employees. Everybody's at home in front of their computer doing data entry. I mean, but these are challenges that I really believe every sophisticated humanoid race has had to overcome. And we've had a few chances. We've had a few resets.
Yes.
And we got to get this shit right this time, baby. That's it.
We got to get it right.
We have to. And one of the things that and you're a huge part of this, and other people who are broadcasting in this way, awareness, enlightenment. This is a grassroots movement. I believe that the sophisticated beings have given up on sources of government, as being, ridiculous and not. I think really, it is about awareness, and more people are becoming aware every day. And even, just look at the programming on even mainstream television. I'm an old fart, so I remember when there were 3 channels, even in New York City. But we have a countless array of metaphysically oriented, paranormally oriented programming to watch. And this would never have been true even 10 years ago. So things are changing, and they're changing for the better. And I want everyone out there to have hope and be kind and love each other and extol the virtues that really are us.
And
this other stuff is imposed.
When you're having these ET experiences, don't just take it as it's going, oh, this is going to be something horrible, or this is some monster that's coming to get me type of thing. But again, we've been programmed for that as well. I mean, they're eventually, I know there's going to be some type of false flag event that they're going to try to put out there and say, "Oh,
they'll try." I don't think it's going to work, though. I think they'll try, but it's not going to fool a hip republic.
No,
and that's what's happening. And the credibility of all government, is like in the toilet, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No one's
please.
believing anything. They're trying to pass all kinds of crazy laws and stuff like that.
Oh my God, going backwards in time. God help us. Well, anyway, Daniel, I'm afraid I have to run pretty soon here, but I want to thank you so much for having me on your wonderful program. It's been a joy to speak with you, and thank you to your lovely wife for getting everything together.
I've been trying to get somebody. I've been trying to get some MUFON people on there. Man, you people are so hard to get a hold of. I don't know what the deal is with that.
I know. But I know it's like the Secret Service.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are on YouTube. I've been messaging them, trying to get a hold of them, and then they just.
Who are you trying to reach? Can you tell me who you're trying? No,
I can't remember his name.
Not Jan Harding, because he's in disgrace. He's gone.
I forget his name. I contacted this one guy, and he said, "Oh, I'll get a hold of you." And he got a hold of me right before I was getting ready to move from Delaware out to here. But then I've been trying to get a hold. I went back to look for his videos, and they're gone. They're just gone. I forget his name, a black gentleman.
Well, if you remember, just text me, because I know all those guys, and if I can put in a word and see what's going on,
I'd like to get anybody, because I want to get that, because this is the type of information that I really want to bring to people, because I know people really are interested in it, and they want to know what's really going on, instead of trying to just run out there and ambush the people over there, Area 51, but they want some real answers from people.
People want the real answers.
Yeah, enjoyed having you on the show. This was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely. Well, like I said, I see what I see all the time, so I know that they are real, and I know they are wanting to make contact with us. I know they do make contact with us, but the people, it's like anything else in this world. You're not going to experience it until you experience it for yourself. You don't know what real pain is like unless you're going through pain yourself. And
sometimes,
people need some real proof, and I know they're dying for just somebody to land a ship again. But again, the controllers in this world, we are going to try to prevent that as much as they can, so they don't lose their control and power over us. But I do pray and hope that people will stand up someday and say, you know what, we're tired of this crap. We want the truth. And because they actually work for us, we can go in there one day and say, hey, you're all fired, you get out of here. We don't have to they're not our leaders, they're supposed to work for us. But because
take your Velcro and get the hell out.
We had a holiday not too long ago called the 4th of July where we got away from a country that was a tyrannical government, and we came here to start our own tyrannical government. So, but Unfortunately, we
You
relinquished
would have been
the power.
better off staying with the UK, like
Yeah,
Canada.
absolutely.
I hate to tell you, but I think it
Yeah.
would have been better. But anyway, that's
Absolutely.
another program.
So before you go, yeah, no kidding. Can you tell my audience where it is they can find you? Where can they find your book?
Oh, wonderful. To reach me at any time, you can always reach me by email at Lesley, Lesley, at lightworkhypnosis.com. That's all one word, all lowercase. And for my most recent book, which is called Intersections, you can get that on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, wherever you Amazon, and it will be sent right
I'll have my wife
to you.
check that out. My wife's a reader.
Cool.
Me, not so much, but I'll have her check that out. Yeah. Yeah, because every time we have a guest on, I say, "Oh, you should read this book." She goes, "Oh, okay," and she does. But yeah.
All righty.
Well, thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for being on our show. It was a great show. It was nice to talk to you. And
thank you, Daniel.
I don't want to sit here across from a good-looking woman and talk to her, so that's okay. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm sure your husband's happy about it too. But and thank our audience for thank you, my audience, for coming out here and being a part of our show. And thank you for hanging out on Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson, me. And as I always tell everybody, have a great day, be good, and don't do any stupid shit. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Daniel. Bye now.
This was Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson with Lesley Mitchell-Clarke in part 2 of Hypnotherapy, Extraterrestrials, Past Life, and Interlife Regression. For more information about Lesley, visit her at lightworkhypnosis.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson.